Welcome, everybody, to another solo edition of the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast. I am incredibly happy to be here with you guys today and talking about my top takeaways from 2022 from all the amazing guests that we've had on so far. So I'm going to do a little bit of recap with my kind of top topics that we've talked about and that I think are most important for all of you to kind of take into 2023. So without further ado, here goes. I have found that there was a theme, right, in lots of these episodes, and we can oftentimes get bogged down by very small details, whether it be business related or, what we're doing as far as content's concerned. But I have found these broad aspects of whether it be running your business or starting something new or diving into becoming a health coach to be the most pivotal in success. So first one is niching down. We've talked a lot about this in 2022, and a lot of people talk about the importance of it, right? And no one's really saying that they regret niching down. Everybody who suggests doing it, right, I think is suggesting it because they've seen how it's impacted their own business and how it has been incredibly helpful for them to connect to a specific audience, whether it be social media or through blogging. And niching down, I think, gets a lot of hesitation, essentially because what people think is if I get really specific, I'm cutting out a whole group of people who I otherwise could help. And I want to help everybody. Or if I wasn't niching down, then I would have the option to, have 50 people apply to my coaching program versus just 10 or 20, right? But what a lot of our guests have said so far is it really allows you, one, to become very specific with content creation. It allows you to be very specific with program creation, and also to kind of really connect with a specific audience, right? And not just kind of broadly connecting with a lot of people, but very deeply connecting with a specific audience. And I think that the whole fact of niching down is also allowing you to really focus on one thing that you're really, really good at, right? Maybe it's gut health, and you're going to really focus on someone getting their gut healthier. Or maybe it's helping someone lose weight, right? However, we also know that once they become clients, right, and maybe they come to you because they want to lose weight, but in that quest, they are working on their gut. They are working on hormones. They're working on their mental and kind of spiritual health journey as well, right? So once they're kind of in your graces, you don't have to just only work on that one thing, right? But it's kind of how you connect initially and how you are perceived as the expert on one specific topic, right? And again, it allows you to not be trying to create content or trying to reach a whole group of people by kind of having this very broad approach to things, right? We know that as integrative health practitioners, health coaches, we do have a vast knowledge, but niching down, I think, allows three big things. One, for you to simply connect with a small, not a small, but a specific group of people. Right. Two, it allows you to simplify your business model and content creation, right? And then three, it really allows for that trust, that like, know, and trust, right? Because when you seem like the expert on one specific topic, those people are much more attracted to that, I would say that professionalism, that real passion, right, when it comes to that one topic. And then once they're in, right, you're able to kind of pivot and work on whatever you feel like is most important, right? Okay, so that's our niching down topic. And that had been a very, I think maybe 4 or 5 of our guests really talked about it specifically. It was brought up at the IHP Live event, and I think it's super, super important. So that's number one. Number two is take messy action. Okay, this is a saying that is coined from my friend and colleague, Joel Evan. And he aired, I think, in the middle of December. So just recently. But again, I love kind of the messy action term, right? A lot of our guests talked about like just starting. You just have to take the next step in front of you to get things going, right? Is everything going to be perfect? Is your website going to be perfect? Is your, content going to be perfect? Or are you going to have 30,000 followers on Instagram before you actually get started, before you create a program, or before you, put yourself out there to take clients? The answer is no. And oftentimes we kind of can get caught up in, that imposter syndrome of like, who am I to start? I don't know everything yet, or so and so knows more than me. And taking messy action is an incredibly important step in getting you, right, to taking more specific, not so messy action, right? We have to start somewhere. And oftentimes it can feel a little messy to us because we're the ones that are starting out and going through it. But when somebody else who isn't an expert in what we do is watching, say a client who needs you, someone's really suffering, they're down emotionally, they are physically not feeling well. Maybe it's creating tension in relationships that they have. Maybe it's affecting their business, it's affecting their parenting, right? And we're waiting to take perfect action, right? Whereas our messy action could be life-changing to them, right? Because we know there's so much more to know. We can learn until we're done, practicing, right? But just the small amount that you may know already, probably not a small amount, but the good amount that you know already is enough to help somebody in need. And we have to keep that in mind, whether it's a family member, a friend, or even a paying client. You just need to start by starting, right? There's no better time than right now. If you leave it until tomorrow, it will never feel like the right time. I never will forget what Dr. Cabral said to me, and I've shared this on the podcast before when I was just starting out, is, I would say like, well, what happens if I don't know the answer to something that they ask? Or, what happens if, I don't know everything that I'm supposed to about the test? And this was, gosh, like 13 years ago. And he looked at me and he said, here's what you need to remember. And I tell new coaches this all the time. When you are sitting in a room with other clients or your family members who know less than you, you're the expert. Do you know everything that a health and wellness expert should know by now? No, because you're just starting out, but you're still the expert. You still know enough to help them, right? And in my episode with Joel about taking messy action, he also said that his business coach said, it's a crime for you to not be doing this. You already know enough to help so many people. Just get going. Like you're potentially leaving tons of people unassisted with something that you could be helping them with, right? And that's ultimately our mission, is to be reaching as many people as possible with everything that we know about health and wellness, right? So that is the number 2 takeaway of 2022 is take messy action. Just get started. Is it going to feel perfect? Is it going to feel, maybe a little bit inauthentic at first? Or is it going to feel like a little bit of a fish out of water? Sure, maybe. But you have had the education, you've had the experience. You just need to get started. All right. Now, 3 is we had 2 lawyers on this year. And I think it's really important to touch on this subject because essentially, most people who come into this field, not everyone, but most health and wellness practitioners, right, are empathic beings. We tend to have a little bit more of that, that energy where we just want things to feel right and we want to, just help. And we can kind of get a little bit bogged down or almost put off by things like law and the specifics of starting a business kind of conceptually, right? And we had 2 great lawyers on. One spoke about how it's really not that complicated and how if you just, get, the things in place to help protect yourself, right? That you can end up having a much more successful practice. And then the other one was talking about really how a lot of the law can be tied in energetically to our business, right? So creating, grounding parts of the law to ground our business in something really solid, and the parts of the law that we need to put on our website, or specific disclaimers that can really be tied into other energetic types of the aspect of what we're doing as far as coaches, but also how the law specifically plays into that, right? And because it's important that we protect ourselves and our clients in whatever container we're operating in. But the legal aspect of it does not have to be daunting. It doesn't have to be any kind of experience other than just, this is part of me getting to the point where I can help others and thrive in my business and help my clients thrive in their life. And the two great lawyers that we had on this year, they both had a very relaxed and unique approach. Actually, the one that first signed on, I was like, wait, I thought he was a lawyer, but I don't know. He's not like giving me lawyer vibes. His name is Corey, and he was actually at the IHP live event. And I was like, you're a lawyer, right? He was like, yes, I'm a lawyer. But that was how relaxed and approachable he was. So seek out people that really resonate with your personality and your business, right? When you're creating some of this stuff that feels like it could be a little bit heavy or daunting at first, right? He was great. And then Lisa Fraley was the other one. And she was kind of more of that energetic approach to the law, and how if we kind of root our business in some of these law principles, we're able to kind of take things to the next step, both energetically, right? And, from a business standpoint. So I would say, don't let all of that legal stuff bog you down. Find a professional that you resonate with, that has some sort of a business, like mindset or personality connection to you, and use them to help create whatever kind of legal parameters you need to, and take your business to the next level. Okay. So that was my top 3 takeaway. And then the other one that came up so often, okay, is the benefit and the importance of foundations. We as integrative health practitioners have tons and tons of knowledge when it comes to, toxin removal, parasite removal, mold, bacteria, breast plant illness, you name it, any of the toxins, right? And so many of the big things, right, that we know we would want to work on. But how do we start out with clients who maybe are somewhat skeptical of that, right? Or maybe they just don't feel like they want to take that big leap into all of these protocols or all of this testing, right? We start at a foundational level. Most of the clients that come to us are tired. Maybe their mood's not the greatest. Maybe they're not sleeping great. Maybe they don't have the interest or the energy to exercise, right? So how do we start at a foundational level to really help these clients thrive? And the de-stress protocol, of course, is an incredible part of this, right? But there's so much that we can do just from, supplemental magnesium and the daily nutritional support shake and an omega-3, right? From a supplement foundational standpoint. And then having someone really work on things like their sleep and moving and getting sunlight, right? There's so many free things also, right? I think a lot of people think that working with a health coach or an integrative health practitioner, it can be costly. And it can definitely be costly if you're, doing protocol after protocol and, you're doing lots of testing. A lot of that can add up. And some people have access to that type of financial resource and some don't. The clients that I've worked with over the last several years, who don't typically have access to, endless financial resources, I start very basic. And oftentimes the need for a lot of that extra stuff just goes away. If we can really work on, again, the de-stress protocol and getting them moving, getting them hydrated, exposing their eyes to first morning sunlight, right? Cultivating really good relationships, just adding in the daily nutritional support powder, right? That can be a huge game changer for some people where they're just getting better absorbable vitamins and minerals to end up giving them more energy. Then they have more energy. Then what do? Then they probably move their body. And if they're moving their body better, they're probably sleeping better. And if they're sleeping better, they're probably waking up with better wherewithal to kind of deal with stressors that may come their way. They're waking up with better energy to then move their body more, right? It's this evolution of that snowball effect where one healthy foundational habit just lends itself to the next. And if we can really capitalize on helping somebody with the foundations, oftentimes we don't need to do all of the extra stuff. Most times we will or we can, but we don't have to if somebody is only able to access certain parts of, everything that we know, essentially. And what the other thing that foundations do, in my opinion, is really teach the client to tap into what they can control. Because I think a lot of people come to, whether it be a practitioner, a health practitioner, or somebody in allopathic medicine, to try to fix something that's wrong, right? And oftentimes we don't have a whole lot to necessarily, we don't need to fix them. We just need to give them the empowerment and the tools to change small aspects of their life. So I think it really helps give clients a lot of accountability and empowerment when we say, listen, I want you to work on these 5 things first before we start relying on supplements, before we start doing all these crazy protocols, before you get all of the biohacking gadgets, right? If someone's not sleeping well, someone's not eating well, and someone's not moving their body well, it's going to be really hard to out gadget, to out supplement any of those 3 foundational aspects, right? So getting those things in place, I think, is a really empowering and accountability holding process for the client in the container that you're working with them in, right? Because then they feel like they're not just grasping at these straws that only that only that you can kind of quote unquote help them with, right? So whether it be that you're suggesting supplement dosages or whether you're helping suggest protocols, right? That's all stuff that we're an expert in, but we can teach our clients to be experts in their own health and wellness journey by really focusing on the foundations of things, right? And all of that stuff, then again, the movement, the nutrition, the sleep, all of that stuff allows them then to better receive, right, the protocols that we might need to move them through. Maybe there is something, with the gut that needs to be addressed. And now because they're sleeping better, now because they're eating better and they're moving their body, they can have kind of the mental wherewithal to go ahead and tackle a program like the CBO protocol, or they can go ahead and do the testing and see what comes up. But I think the importance of foundations was another huge takeaway from 2022. And I think the last and final takeaway of 2022 was how grateful we all are. All of my guests are incredibly grateful for having been put on the path to being the practitioners that we are, whether it be that they were incredibly sick themselves and they found Dr. Cabral, and Dr. Cabral helped them, heal themselves. And now they're spreading the word to others, whether they're practicing professionally, they're just helping other coaches, get the inspiration that they need. Everybody was incredibly grateful for being in the position that they're in. And I think that is such an amazing thing to be surrounded by so many people professionally that we all know, and we all have the same same gratitude and appreciation for what we get to do every day, who we get to learn from, the fact that our clients essentially are a major part of kind of our success just as much as we are, right? I'm so grateful for the clients that I get to see year after year because essentially their trust in me is what allows me to do what I love. And so I think another huge theme was gratitude. And that's really what I would love to take into 2023 and kind of again help people to understand that this is a profession that truly feels incredible every day. Are there days that are hard? Are there sometimes clients that are challenging? Absolutely. But what ends up happening is once we overcome, some of those challenging cases, we learn so much from that, right? Everything is a learning opportunity. And I think that the gratitude that we're able to kind of take into our work for both having helped our own, health and wellness position, and then being able to go on and help others, I think is something we can all be, we all can resonate with. So if you have listened to this podcast in 2022, thank you so much for having been here. I absolutely love all of the feedback that we get. I love doing this podcast. And first, when Dr. Cabral told me, I think it would be great for you to co-host a podcast with me, this is what I'm thinking. I was like, I can't podcast. This isn't possibly something that's in my wheelhouse. And just like taking messy action, he was like, just start. If you don't like it, fine, we'll pivot and, we can figure something else out. But I think you would be great. And we all need somebody in this world to think that we're great, right? A little bit beyond ourselves. But I'm so happy he convinced me to do this because it's been one of the things I look forward to the most every week, connecting with all of the amazing guests, but then also kind of connecting in this community sense, right? Because other people reach out about people that they think would be great guests, or they reach out about whatever they've heard as far as content and they want to kind of know more, right? So this has been a huge part of my life in 2022, and I can't wait to continue in 2023, bringing you more wonderful guests, more great content, hopefully to continue to inspire all of your business aspirations, but also just who you are as coaches and human beings, right? Because at the end of the day, we're doing the best we can as professionals, right? But we also have personal lives. And so I think a lot of this can be carried into our personal journeys as well. So I thank you all so much for being here in 2022. I am so excited for 2023, and I hope you'll join us for the next year and see what's ahead. I wish you all a new year of health, happiness, and prosperity. Thank you so much for being here on the Integrative Health Coach episode, and I'll look forward to hearing more and talking more soon.